Really proud of this film. And my God, folks, I can't even count now how many times this happens, or how many times it has happened, or how many times it happened even just last year. I'll release a movie and then something comes out in the news that reinforces or confirms the subject matter of the film that I just released. It's crazy how many times it happens. And again, this is the kind of stuff. This is why I don't quit, guys. That's why I'll never give up, because every time I'm, in my darkest hour, or, questioning why I even ever chose to do this, because as I've talked about before, you got to remember, before, my younger days growing up and stuff, all I ever wanted to be, I never wanted to be a doctor or a lawyer or a scientist. All I ever wanted to be was a musician. And I have been a musician now for 30 years. And, with that, it was always, I don't know, self-driven. You know what I mean? Like, you wanted those things. You wanted to be successful or whatever, to acquire things for yourself. And, it was a lot of that stuff, especially when I was young. It was selfish motivations. And when I started doing this work and I made the decision not to have commercials and sponsors and advertisers and that, and chose not to, because I'm not a salesman. I'm just not. I'm not a salesman. I'm not a marketer. If I wanted to be a sleazy, greasy marketer, admittedly, that it is one of my faults. If I wanted to be that, I wouldn't become a used car salesman. I'm not a salesman. I'm not a guy who is going to do ad reads and convince you why you need to get the fucking dick pills or the fucking ball hair trimmers or whatever, the current podcast sponsor thing is. It's funny how one show will get one sponsor, and then every show gets that sponsor, and then every podcast you listen to has the same fucking sponsors, and they're all trying to get you to fucking buy their fucking Blue Chew dick pills or whatever, I made that decision. I was never going to do that, and it's tough. It has been tough. It's tough because my work is 100% publicly funded. It's funded by my listeners and my supporters, and yeah, it's tough. It's we barely make it sometimes, but again, it was just that thing where I'd rather have it that way than have to try to be some sleazy salesman and try to sell you some. Now, if I'm trying to sell you my products, these movies that are handmade by me, these things are, this is my art. These movies are my art. So much goes into these things, and I do it all. I don't farm any of this stuff out to somebody else. I don't have an editor. I am the editor. I don't have a fucking, visual graphics guy. I am the visual graphics guy. I don't have a composer or someone doing the music. I am the composer. I am the performer. I write, arrange, compose, perform all of the music in these films. I do all the research, all the writing, all the voiceovers, all the editing, everything. 100%. Lock, stock, and barrel, all the way across the board. And so, I don't mind trying to get you to buy something that I've made, but, trying to sell you fucking dick pills or, ball hair trimmers and shit like that. I can't do that, man. I can't fucking do it. But again, that's problematic because it does put us in situations oftentimes where we're, facing going under permanently, and putting me on the street permanently, and I've had to deal with that a lot over the last year, more than I ever have before. But something like this comes out, man, especially, it seems to happen right after I come out. I mean, it's a sign from the universe. That's how I take it. I mean, I always get these little signs, man, in my darkest hour or when I'm, having doubts or whatever. I always get these little signs and these little signals. I always have from the very beginning because, like I was saying, this doing this work, this is the first time I've ever done anything in my life that wasn't just for me and my own benefit. When I started doing this, I never had any illusions I was ever going to become rich doing it. It's activism. You don't want to make money. If you're making money like Alex Jones was making money and all that shit, you're obviously not telling the truth. The only way you make money in this shit is to not tell the truth. It's to lie and reinforce, official narratives or narratives where you're pandering to a certain audience or something, whether it be the left or the right. And of course, as you know, I'm neither one of those things. I never have been. And but again, it gets tough sometimes. It gets, you start doubting yourself, you start doubting the universe, you start doubting God, you start doubting, your decisions, all this stuff. But again, every time I always get that reinforcement from the universe that says, hey, you're on the right track. Keep going. Don't give up. It'll get better. Man, if you've seen my new film, Whether or Not Skies of Lies, you'll get this. If you haven't, then please go get a download of it now from my download store. So one of the things I talk about in this film in regards to chemtrails is this stuff called Chaff, which is this, which, I don't know if you've ever seen this stuff. A lot of people have seen this stuff. You'll see sometimes on days when they're spraying chemtrails, you'll see this stuff. You can see it driving around. I saw it blown over a high school football field one time. It looks like almost like cobwebs, like spider webs. It's like white material. You'll see it falling out of the sky sometimes. I saw it, some fall out of the sky and dangle over a what do you call it? Traffic lights on a street one time here in Dallas. But I talk about Chaff in the film, Chaff, Chaff, not shaft as in, can you do it? No, Chaff, Chaff. But and I relate in the film, Whether or Not Skies of Lies, I relate a story that Jim Mars told me back in, 2007, 2008, about what a Black Ops pilot told him about chemtrails and Chaff and all that. So if you want to hear that story and hear the information Jim related to me, watch the film because I'm not going to tell it here. But it has to do with this stuff, Chaff, and I show it in the film and talk about it and all that. Guys, some of you may have already seen this. I posted it online and on YouTube earlier today. Fuck. I'm still flabbergasted. This is unbelievable. So this article was posted yesterday, the 29th, right? 29th of January. This movie came out Saturday, the 27th of January. And I've been working on it for the past couple of weeks. On January 20th, and I was definitely working on the film on January 20th, guess what appeared over Dallas? A giant fucking chaff cloud. Now, obviously, this has been going on forever. We've seen chemtrails. We've seen these things. That's, we've known this is going on forever. But why are they reporting on it now? They've never reported on this stuff before. They're never reported, oh, hey, there's a shaft, big giant shaft cloud over Dallas. Why now? And if it happened on the 20th, right? It happened on the 20th. It was a newsworthy enough story to report in the news, right? Well, how come they didn't do it the 22nd or the 23rd? Or why did they wait? It happened on the 20th. They obviously knew about it then. They obviously felt it was a newsworthy story, which they never have before. They've never reported on Chaff in the fucking news before. Are you kidding me? I definitely would have noticed. You know, if this would have happened in, I don't know, fucking Des Moines, Iowa, or fucking, you know, Newark, New Jersey, anywhere, I still would have been shocked and amazed by the fact that they reported on this. But the fact that this happened where I live, the fact this happened over Dallas, as I'm working on this fucking new movie where I'm talking about Chaff, and then it's reported on. I mean, put yourself in my shoes for a second, guys. You put out this movie on Saturday, the 27th. We were talking about Chaff, and I'm relate this story that I don't know that Jim necessarily told me that in confidence or secret or anything. I mean, he's dead now, doesn't matter anyway. But still, though, I've never put it out there and put it in a film or anything. I put this movie out. I talk about Chaff. I talk about what Jim Mars told me about what a Black Ops pilot told him about Chaff. Because, see, chemtrails, even though we use that term, the term's a misnomer. It's a complete misnomer. And I think that's what's turned a lot of people off from the subject, is because the term itself is a misnomer. They're not actually spraying chemicals. They're not actually chemical trails. But that's what the nomenclature is. That's the term, everybody. It's like conspiracy theory, you know? We call it that, but that's just because that's the dialect. You know, that's the known phraseology or whatever. But put yourself in my shoes for a minute, guys. You put this movie out on Saturday the 27th. We were talking about Chaff and chemtrails and all this, and then an article comes out 2 days later in the fucking Dallas. It's WFAA.com. WFAA is our local ABC affiliate here. In the Dallas News, 2 days after you live in Dallas, you put out a chemtrail movie, and you're talking about Chaff and all this, and this comes out. I don't know, guys. Put yourself in my shoes. How would you feel? You would feel like, you know, even if it's not true, you know how I feel about coincidences. Come on, coincidences don't exist. But, I mean, put yourself in my shoes for a minute. You put out this movie, and then 2 days later, for the first time ever, there's a story where they're talking about Chaff and this giant fucking Chaff clown over Dallas, and this happens while you were working on this. I mean, guys, come on. Yeah, I'm fucking flabbergasted. This is fucking crazy. And then I'll read you the article. It says, DFW weather. What was that mysterious cloud floating over North Texas? And then this is how they begin the article. And again, this goes right with what I talk about in the movie, too. It says, Dallas. Aliens again? Again? No, but once again, something mysterious was floating in the North Texas skies. Over the past several months, SpaceX rockets have been seen in the sky over North Texas. Yeah, I caught one. I saw one day. I didn't know that's what it was at the time. I saw something crazy a couple of weeks ago, or a month or so ago. I saw this. I was outside and I saw this thing. I was like, what? I was like, oh shit, here we go. These motherfuckers is about to land. I did. It was crazy. Look, I don't know what it was. Because I'm in North Texas. I'm not anywhere near where they launch rockets at. Hundreds and hundreds of miles away from that. But I took a picture of it, and then I saw online that people all over Dallas saw this thing. They didn't know what it was. It turned out it was a SpaceX rocket. This time around, the mysterious object or objects were invisible to the earthlings below. Now, that's what's interesting about this. They could have not reported this. No one noticed it, except the people running the radar systems. They could have not reported on this, and nobody would have fucking known about it. So why now? Again, even if it's, let's just say, even though I don't believe in coincidences, let's just say for a second, for the sake of argument, let's just say it's a coincidence. Even if it was a coincidence, can't you at least relate to me a little bit on the fact that, I look at hundreds of news articles a day and have for 20 years. This is 2024, this is our 17th year on air. This show started in 2007. Never, ever, folks, has there ever been any stories about Chaff in the news. And then 2 days after I release this movie, this comes out. I mean, again, put yourself in my shoes for a minute, guys. Yeah, it's got me thinking, fuck, these guys are either, I know they are, they have been for a long time, watching me very close, watching what I do. But it always seems like they have some answer or some retort to something that I put out almost immediately after I put it out. Which, again, I would understand if I was selling, millions of copies or something like that, and I had a huge reach. I don't, my films sell 40 copies if we're lucky. It says, this time around, the mysterious objects were invisible to the earthlings below. Weather radar was the only indication of anything floating overhead. But it got picked up on the weather radar, and so the weathermen and some local weathermen, they were freaking out about it. And if you look at this picture of it, you can see it's in long streaks. It's not just like a big cumulus cloud. It's streaks that definitely look like what they do when they're spraying chemtrails. And Chaff it's aluminum. And in the film, I show the list of this back in the 2000s. The Idaho Observer newspaper had taken some of this stuff they collected on a car, this white stuff that falls out of the sky. And they went and had it was chemtrail stuff. They had it analyzed, and it came back with this laundry list of crazy shit in it. And I have that in the film. And one of the things in it they found are what they called aluminum coated nanofibers. Well, that's what Chaff is. It's made of aluminum. It's reflective. That's why they use it in SRM, solar radiation management, and all that stuff, because you can use it to either reflect sun back into space, or you can also use it to reflect sunlight down to Earth to create warming, just like I talked about in the film. On January 20th, the National Weather Service radar outside of Fort Worth picked up a blob on the radar when there was not any precipitation for miles around. It is not uncommon for weather radar to pick up objects of non-meteorological origin, birds, bats, bugs, smoke, or even cars can be picked up by weather radar at times, but this blob did not share any of those characteristics. So what was it? Our best guess, as well as the National Weather Service, is Chaff. Unbelievable, guys. All of a sudden, they're talking about Chaff in the news. All of a sudden, what they never have before. Again, put yourself in my shoes for a minute. It's crazy as it sounds. I mean, put yourself in my shoes. They've never talked about Chaff in the fucking news before. 2 days after I put out this movie, a fucking story comes out in my local fucking ABC News affiliate that I've grown up with my whole life, talking about Chaff. I mean, come on, you would be freaking the fuck out too. Chaff is small, lightweight fibers that are typically aluminum-coated glass fibers used by military aircraft during training exercises or combat missions. It is used to counter and confuse enemy radar systems. In this case, it was likely released as a military training exercise over DFW. Notice how it says likely released. The thing is, they don't know. I've looked and looked. There's no confirmation of this. Usually, when something like this happens, the military comes out and confirms it and says, "Yes, we were conducting." But this is a densely populated urban area. What the fuck would the military be doing conducting these kind of exercises? And notice, go back to what they said. Used during training exercises or combat missions. Right, Chaff is a countermeasure. Like if you're in a dogfight and enemy aircraft gets a missile lock on you, and they fire a heat-sinking missile at you, you can fire a countermeasure Chaff, and it will create an artificial radar signature, and then the missile will go towards where the Chaff is instead of where you are. That's what it's used for. But like they said, yeah, you can combat. It's used to confuse enemy radar systems. Well, okay. So there's been no confirmation from the military there were anything like that. And why would you be doing that? Live fire exercises over a densely populated area like the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. I mean, so that's what we're supposed to believe was going on. The thing is, just like they said, likely. They don't know either. They're just guessing too. That's the thing about these news stories. They're as much conspiracy theorists as anyone is. Because they're just theorizing and giving a guess too. But people take it like it's the truth and they just say, oh yeah, that's probably what it was. No. Listen, let me tell you. We've been in the 20s and 30s degrees here for, past month and a half. Since before Christmas. Yesterday and today, it's in the 70s. Yeah, in January. So what, we're supposed to fucking just write that off as a coincidence too? It goes from being in the 20 and 30 degrees, then this giant Chaff cloud appears over Dallas, and then all of a sudden we're up in the fucking 70s like it's spring or something? Come on. That's weather mod. They were intentionally creating this cloud to warm up the temperatures. That's what they do. To do what? Why would they do that? What would be that? Because to reduce energy use and energy reduction. Because we've had problems here with the power grid. We had the fucking shit apocalypse, ice apocalypse shit that happened in 2021 that I was affected by. Almost froze to fucking death. Power outages for a fucking week and all this crazy shit. And they've had, even during this winter, we haven't had any bad ice and stuff like we had then, but we did have a what they call an Arctic blast come in, and it was, in the teens for like a week. And they did ask people to reduce their electricity consumption. I mean, I already do. I can't afford to stay warm in the winter. I keep my shit on like 62 at the highest, even when it's cold. I mean, I damn near froze to death a couple of weeks ago in this thing, but I'm just trying to keep costs down and keep, from having, because my electric bill is, I don't keep it on, and even in the summertime, I keep it on like 80 or 81. I don't, I try to keep costs down and not, have to deal with, it's already hard enough dealing with covering the operating costs every month. I'm not going to throw a high electricity bill. So, our electric bill is usually like 80 or $100 a month. But if I turn the heater on, just not even anything crazy, just like just barely enough to keep warm, like say 67 or 68 degrees, it just runs and runs and runs and kicks on, and I'll end up having a fucking $300 or $400 electric bill. So, I just fucking suck it up and, wear layers and shit when it's fucking cold. When I'm asleep, it's no problem. It's only cold like when I'm awake in the waking hours and stuff. But, you get in the bed, you can put fucking blankets and comforters and all that shit on you. So that's what I do. But, so we're supposed to think that's a coincidence too? That all of a sudden we see a very unseasonably warm temperatures yesterday and today right after this fucking Chaff cloud gets fucking sprayed over Dallas? Why can't it be seen by weather radar? Why can't it be seen by weather radar? Weather radars emit electromagnetic waves that bounce off objects like snow, rain, or hail. Those signals are then detected by the radar and plotted on a map. As mentioned above, those electromagnetic waves also can detect non-weather related objects at times. That includes Chaff. The reason Chaff shows up so well on weather radar is that it is highly reflective thanks to the aluminum coating that gives the appearance of rain on radar systems. Yeah, it's, again, aluminum coated nanoparticles. That's what they found when these tests. That's, we've known aluminum and barium and all that stuff was part of this. While meteorologists most often use weather radar to track rain, snow, and tornadoes. Sometimes they come in handy to monitor other types of phenomenon. In this case, it wasn't something extraterrestrial, but definitely was mysterious. Again, twice. Why do you fucking try? Nobody was fucking saying this was extraterrestrial. Nobody. Because no citizen saw this. They said themselves at the beginning of the article it could only be seen on radar. So why twice in this article now are they reassuring us, no, don't worry, it wasn't aliens, had nothing to do with aliens. Okay, great, nobody said it did. Why are you offering that up? That's suspicious to me. That's highly fucking suspicious. Okay, so that's the end of the article. But I'm fucking flabbergasted, guys. I don't want to. Again, put yourself in my shoes for a minute. 2 days. There's never been stories about Chaff. Obviously, they've seen it show up on radar before. They've been dumping this stuff forever. Why all of a sudden, guys? All of a sudden, in my local news, again, if this happened in fucking Duluth or fucking Sacramento or, somewhere else, I still would have been, blown away by the fact that they're even reporting on Chaff in the fucking news. But the fact that this didn't happen in Duluth or Newark or Sacramento or somewhere, this happened right here where I live, in Dallas, Texas. And it's reported on in my local news. And they're talking about Chaff. 2 days, folks. 2 days after I released this new movie, Whether or Not Skies of Lies. Specifically where I talk about Chaff. I even show Chaff on the screen, a picture of it, of what it looks like, and talk about what Jim Mars told me, a Black Ops pilot told him about Chaff and all that. Again, you got to see the movie if you want to hear the story. But, again, put yourself in my shoes for a minute, guys. Holy fucking shit. I mean, what am I supposed to think or feel about this? Because I'll tell you, I don't think or feel anything else other than this is a direct response to my movie. I mean, again, maybe it's not. Maybe I'm fucking out of my mind. Maybe it is just a coincidence. Maybe coincidences are real. I don't believe they are for a second. Now, the things I've seen over the years, still though, I mean, if it is a coincidence, a hell of a coincidence. But god damn, it just shows once again that I got my finger on the fucking pulse of the zeitgeist, don't I? Holy shit, I didn't even know. Well, I mean, think about that. It happened on the 20th. I was literally putting this movie together and working on it, working on the writing and all the info and all that stuff, probably working on the Chaff stuff on the 20th of January when this fucking Chaff cloud appeared. I mean, again, I'm flabbergasted, guys. This is, whether it's a coincidence or it isn't, I certainly, the way I feel, it feels like it is not. I mean, again, this could have happened in Tallahassee, Florida or somewhere, Maybe the local Tallahassee News could have reported or something. I still would have been like, wow, they're talking about Chaff in the news now. This is unbelievable. Well, I wouldn't have, probably wouldn't have felt like it was I would have definitely just thought it was a coincidence or something, But the fact that this happened in fucking Dallas at the exact time I'm making this chemtrail movie and I'm talking about Chaff, and then, it happened on the 20th. They didn't put the news story out on the 22nd or the 23rd or the 24th. They felt it was newsworthy, but they waited 9 days to report it in the news, and it happened to just conveniently come out 2 days after I released my new movie. It's interesting because they won't give me any, all of my fans, I don't have any fans in Dallas. I mean, other than, people I know, family and stuff. Nobody in Dallas knows me, knows my work, knows my films. They won't give me the time of day here in Dallas. I've sent, press releases and stuff out about my movies to local media before. And which is funny because, I mean, anybody else that does anything, they'll have them on the local news. Like if somebody writes a fucking book that 5 people read, they'll have a profile on them on the news. Local writer releases a book and all this stuff, or somebody comes out with an independent film or something. They'll do stories in local media and so on. You think you'll ever do that? Have you ever done that for me? Hell no. They won't touch me with a 10-foot pole. Of course not. And then I come out with this movie and fucking 2 days later there's a fucking report about a mysterious. And they're, they're just, don't worry, it's Chaff. And those how he's harmless. And, oh, don't worry, it's not aliens. Had to say that twice in one article. Okay, we get it. You said it twice already. Why would you feel the need to... The thing is, if people had seen this, you know what I mean? If it had been... And I'm sure it was visible. People just probably thought it was just a regular cloud. That's the whole point of what they do with these chemtrails, because they spray out that chaff, and the chaff forms in these clouds that spread and move around. They can blast them with electromagnetic waves from stuff like HAARP, ionospheric heaters, and stuff like that, and move them around. Again, if people had noticed this, and people were going, wow, what was that crazy big cloud over Dallas? Which they kind of inferred that it seemed like that's what was going on. It wasn't. If somebody had seen this giant cloud or something, and people had been like, wow, what was that big cloud over Dallas? Was that aliens? Okay, then I can understand why they would address it in the story and say, don't worry, the big cloud had anything to do with Dallas. And then they go on to say right there in the article that no one from the ground could even see it. It was only seen on radar. They could have easily done what they've always done. This has been going on forever. This chaff clouds, they've been going on for years. Why would they now all of a sudden feel the need? Because that's one of the things I talk about in the movie. Because I look at what I do in this film, whether or not Skies of Lies, is to look at all the possible theories, even the ones that maybe I don't believe in. One of the ones I mentioned, because it's something that people have talked about before. It's not one I believe in, but people have posited the theory before and put it out there and said it, that some people have believed that, and I talk about this in the movie, that they think that chemtrails could be from aliens. And I talk about this theory that I came across in the late 90s when I first got access to the internet, and I never heard or found anything about it ever again. This idea of this alien sky shield that they said would be up and operational by the year 2000. And that they were going to spray this chemical sky shield. Aliens were going to spray a chemical sky shield on the Earth that would block off a human's connection to a higher power, like prayers, meditation, all that stuff, and that it would send humanity spiraling out of control because it would block off their ability to pray and have their prayers heard and meditate and all that stuff. And I talk about the ionosphere and stuff in the film, and how Buddhist monks were hooked to electroencephalography machines, EEGs, while in the throes of meditation. I found the pictures and everything. I've talked about that before in the past, but I found the pictures and stuff from the study this time. It's all in the film. And they found that their brain waves resonate at the exact same frequency as the ionosphere when they're in the throes of meditation. And, with stuff like HAARP and Sura in Russia, those are technically classified as ionospheric heaters. So, I thought about that. I thought, wow, maybe it's not aliens, but maybe there is something to that idea that they were trying to, block off communication with higher power, and they said it would be operational by the year 2000. That's really when people started, really right around that time, when people really started seeing and photographing, seeing chemtrails worldwide, and, look at what happened after the start of the new millennium, after that, from the year 2000 to now. Hard to argue that humanity hasn't spiraled out of control since then. It really is. Whether there's anything to it or not, but again, I don't believe that chemtrails are alien in origin. That's not my thesis or anything that I present as something I believe in the film at all. I just present it as being one of the many things. Because that's what I wanted to really do with this film, is to look at all the things, even the ones I don't believe in, just all the possibilities. Everything's been said about what chemtrails could be, what their origins are, where they come from, what they're being done from. I wanted to cover all that ground, and I do in the new film, whether or not Skies of Lies. Again, get a download of it from my download store, please. So for them to, in this article, first say, I mean, it just doesn't make any sense that they would even cover this. They could have easily just done what they've done for years on this subject. It's just ignore it, not say anything. Again, nobody noticed it. The only people that noticed it were the fucking local weathermen running the weather radars. They're the only ones that noticed it. Nobody else noticed. So it's not like there was a public panic or outcry with it. It's not like when people saw the SpaceX rocket like a month or so ago that I saw and took a picture of too. When people were, tons of people all across the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex saw this thing and were like, what the fuck was that? And a lot of people did say, yeah, the fuck, was this a UFO? What was this? Because it did look weird. It looked weird as fuck. I mean, it looked like streaking fires. It didn't look like anything you've seen in photographs or pictures before when we've seen rocket launches. Now, of course, they say it's a SpaceX rocket. For all we know, it could have fucking been something else, right? Maybe that's a cover story. Maybe that's a lie. Who knows? But regardless, this Chaff cloud that appeared over Dallas on the 20th, nobody saw this. So nobody was going, what was that big cloud? Was that aliens? So there's no reason to say that twice in the article. There's no reason to try and reassure anyone, oh, don't worry, it wasn't aliens, but there was a big fucking cloud, and we speculate. They even say it twice in there. We speculate, and so does the National Weather Service. We speculate it was Chaff from military. Right. You speculate, but you don't have any fucking clue because the military has not confirmed that there was any exercises like that because they don't conduct live fire military exercises over densely populated urban areas like the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. They just don't. Because those countermeasures, that's what they do. They'll fire missiles and stuff that don't have warheads attached to them. And they'll fire these things that, when they're doing live fire exercises, and the pilot will eject the shaft out, and the shaft will blow into the sky and create an artificial radar signature, and then the missile goes towards the artificial radar signature in the shaft instead of going towards them. But to create a big cloud like that, especially in the streak like that, that's a lot. That's way more shaft than they ever would deploy in a military exercise. I mean, they show it here in the picture. You can see that stretches for miles. From the northern border of Texas all the way across the entire southern border of Oklahoma. Come on. No military exercise. So let's look at it just like I do in my film. Let's examine all the possibilities. Okay, if it wasn't a military exercise, what was it? Well, we know it was definitely weather modification. We know it was definitely Chaff being sprayed to heat things up we went from being in the 20s and 30s here for over a month, and then now all of a sudden, right after the appearance of this giant Chaff cloud, we're in the fucking 70s yesterday and today, which is not normal for this time of year at all. Not at all. Not here in North Texas. Not at all. Southern Texas down closer to Mexico, yeah, maybe, but not in the northern part of Texas where I live. No, not at all. So what's the other possibility? If it was, they said most likely it was military training. Well, again, that's just counting on people being stupid. Not being stupid, but just not knowing that countermeasures like that, Chaff countermeasures, only deployed during live fire exercises. And again, the amount they would have to have deployed would have been astronomically larger than any amount they would ever deploy in any military training exercise. So what's the other explanation then? What's the other possibility? Now, I don't believe this, but I'm just saying, let's just look at all the possibilities. The only other possibility would be that there were a fleet, literally have to be a fleet, of military aircraft enemy, not our military aircraft, enemy military aircraft in American airspace, and they created a Chaff cloud to be invisible on radar. But the only reason that doesn't hold any that doesn't add up. That doesn't fucking hold any water at all, because they would have been picked up on radar way before they ever got to fucking Texas. Now, come on. with NATO, not NATO, but NORAD and all that stuff, North American Aerospace Defense Command would have picked up enemy aircraft in American airspace long before they got over Dallas. And there would have been action. There would have been shit deployed. They wouldn't have even made it to fucking Dallas. They would have either been ran back and turned tail and ran back home, or they would have been engaged and shot down. They wouldn't have made it to Dallas. So, I'm playing devil's advocate here and just presenting all the possibilities. And that's the only other possibility. It's that military aircraft were in American airspace and they wanted to go undetected, so they created a Chaff clown to keep themselves and deployed countermeasures to keep themselves invisible on radar. Okay, well, again, even if that was possible, what would enemy aircraft be doing that deep in American airspace? And again, NORAD would have picked them motherfuckers up long before they ever got to Texas. They wouldn't even got to Florida. And they wouldn't even, they'd have barely made it to the East Coast before they would have been fucking turned back around by United States military aircraft, and who would be, with the threat of force to turn back and get out of American airspace, or you're going to be fucking shot the fuck down. So it wouldn't have even gotten to that. So clearly, I mean, the only thing it could have been is this was Chaff released to modify the weather. But again, my point is, and I maintain it with this, is that why now? Why are they talking about it now? Again, nobody noticed this except local weathermen, telling you whether it's going to be cold or warm, or if we're going to get any rain in a couple of days or whatever. Those are the only people that noticed it. No civilians, no regular people were going outside going, oh, what's this big, giant, strange cloud over Dallas? That's what they made it seem like. And then they go on to say in the article, no one saw it, it was only visible on radar. Right? So what is the need to explain this to people? They could have just gone on just saying nothing, which is what they usually do. No one would have noticed. No one would have cared. No one would have thought aliens were invading. Nothing like that. They felt the need. 2 days after a documentary filmmaker in Dallas, Texas, puts out a chemtrail documentary, tells a story he's never told before about what Jim Mars told him, that a Black Ops military pilot told Jim Mars about Chaff and about chemtrails, and how they're not actually spraying chemicals up there. They're spraying Chaff. You can watch the movie and hear the story and all that. But again, guys, I get it. It does sound fucking cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs for me to think that this was a direct response to my movie. I get it. I'm with you. Believe me. It sounds cuckoo for fucking Cocoa Puffs. Believe me. I get it. It's not lost on me. It sounds fucking wacky. And if I heard somebody saying that, I would think it was wacky too. Believe me. But I mean, again, put yourself in my shoes here, folks. Fucking A. This is 2 days, not 2 weeks. What if I had not put this movie out for another 2 weeks, or I'd put it out 2 weeks ago? Would we have still seen this? Would they still have reported on this? All of a sudden, 2 days after I put out a movie talking about Chaff and chemtrails and relate this story Jim Mars told me that, I've never fucking told before. I think I may have mentioned and talked about it in the past on the show, but, I've never put it in a film that's out there and publicly available to buy and stuff. And then this happens, all of a sudden they're reporting on it, and they even say, our theory and the National Weather Service's theory is that it's Chaff. They don't know for sure. And then it just happens to coincide with us going from being in the 20s and 30s for over a month to going into the lower 70s yesterday and today. I mean, what am I supposed to think here, guys? What the fuck am I supposed to think? Well, because I'm telling you, the two films I came out with, of all the films I came out with last year, the two I've gotten the most pushback on, Fall the movie, which of course I knew, because the stuff I found out about the whole fake Paul McCartney stuff, the revelations in that movie that have never been discovered by anybody else and never been put out by them. I mean, that's why that movie cost so much, guys. Because the information I put in that film, no one's ever discovered but me. I'm the first person to discover it. And my life was on the fucking line putting that out. Because they killed people over this fucking fake Paul McCartney stuff. They killed a lot of people. A lot of famous people, too. Not the least of which was George Harrison and fucking John Lennon. You know, they killed John Lennon and George Harrison over this fucking fake Paul stuff. What do you think they're going to fucking do to a fucking schmuck like me? I got pushback on that film, and I got pushback on the other one I put out at the end of last year, Cycle 25, or not Cycle 20, Maximum 25, about Solar Cycle 25, and how it began early in 2023, and they don't know why. That's why 2023 was the hottest year ever on record on Earth, because the solar maximum wasn't scheduled to begin until 2025 started early, and scientists have no idea why. On top of the fact that many scientists have predicted that in 2023 we could get hit with coronal mass ejections from the sun that could wipe out the Earth, and that's the basis of what I talk about in Maximum 25 in my movie. Those two movies, the Fall one and Maximum 25, are the ones I've gotten the most pushback on. By pushback, I mean, like, you know, threats and, you know, nasty comments, nasty emails. You shut up talking about this, or you're going to be sorry. Shit like, and I don't ever get shit like that. I know a lot of people who don't do this kind of work think that you probably do get lots of stuff like that. I don't. I do not. You know, most of the time they just, whatever, they just, treat me like a fucking mushroom. Keep me in the dark, cover me in shit, and don't worry about me. But anytime I do, the only other time I've got pushback like that, back in like, was it 2009, 2010? Back when I had my website going still, I posted some article. It wasn't even an article that I wrote. It was an article I posted from some news agency. I got a fucking takedown letter, a cease and desist letter from fucking Blackwater, ordering me to take that fucking news story off my site. What are you talking about here? And my website was getting hit by Monsanto and DARPA. I mean, what are the fucking boys in the white lab coats at DARPA interested in my fucking website for? I got hit by DARPA. I got hit by the DOD. I got hit by the MOD, the Ministry of Defense in UK. You know, I mean, they're aware of my work, guys. They are. And most of the time, they keep themselves hidden, but sometimes they do some shit, and they'll start hitting my sites, and then I'll start getting these weird emails, and then the emails will have, you try to do like a trace, you try to like I'll try to get an IP address on it and try to trace back where it comes from. It comes back a no hit, which is generally, it's just like how you can tell, you can tell if you have somebody following you. So you get those unmarked cars with no plates on them. Those are generally always feds and stuff. Yeah. So there's no question about it, guys, that they're actively, I knew they have been, but I don't want to talk about it a lot, and I don't make a big deal about it a lot, because really I just consider it par for the course, right? I mean, of course they're going to fucking be monitoring. They're monitoring everything. They're monitoring everybody. They're watching everything. They're watching everybody. They got cameras. Everything, all internet traffic goes through NSA hubs that have AI software in them that pick up keywords and things. Everything. Every show I've ever done, every movie that I've uploaded to the server to sell, every word I've said on this show, it all goes through those NSA keyword filters and then kicks back a printout to some fucking, lackey getting paid $10 an hour sitting at a desk, and then they decide if it's actionable or not. That's how they've been doing that for years. I mean, I remember, they've had that kind of stuff in these, in phone companies and stuff. They've had that stuff for years. I mean, I had a relative that used to work for a phone company, and they told me about how there was a room at their office that you couldn't go into unless you had a security clearance. And this is 25 years ago. This is before 9/11. So people think like with terrorism and stuff after 9/11, they were increasing surveillance on Americans and warrantless wiretaps and all that. No, we just started hearing about it then. It didn't start then. No, it was going on long before George Bush and 9/11 and warrantless wiretaps and the NSA. Long before that. It's been going on virtually forever. And that's what they do. But I mean, I knew they were keeping out of this whole thing with the Chaff stuff and all this, guys. I mean, this is a fucking... this is a new level. This is a different level. But thank you. Thank you, you fucks. Yeah. Thank you. Because you know what you just gave me? Guess what? You just gave me the best free PR for my movie. Thank you. Thank you. Guess what? Guess what you just did, you dumb fucks? You just made a whole bunch of people that probably weren't going to see this movie and probably weren't going to buy this movie, who are now going to go buy a download of this movie now because of this, because you guys fucked up. What was the purpose of this? Did you guys think that somehow this was going to try and negate what I put in this movie? By saying, oh, don't worry, it's not aliens, don't worry, Chaff is harmless, and don't worry, you know, this was, we speculate this was a military exercise. Again, you don't know for sure, and again, there's been no confirmation by the military that there was any type of military exercise going on over the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex on the 20th of January. I went and looked, I researched all this stuff, I was looking into this stuff all day today, all fucking day. There's been 100% of the time, guys, if there's something like this anomalous that goes on, the military will come out and do a press release, release a statement and say, yes, we were conducting these exercises, and, you know, if you saw anything strange or whatever, don't worry, it was harmless, it was just this. The military has still not done that. The military has not officially acknowledged or taken responsibility for this. So all this stuff about it was the military exercise, that's really coming from the National Weather Service and the local news here in Dallas. And they admit themselves in this very article, they have no proof. But again, with all the information that I know about weather modification and chemtrails and solar radiation management and on and on and on, and the reflective shaft that they use, the whole reason why they use that is to reflect sunlight away from Earth or reflect sunlight down to Earth to warm it. They can warm or cool with Chaff in these operations. And again, we're just supposed to think it's all just a big coincidence that we go from freezing to death. Then this mysterious Chaff cloud appears over Dallas, and now it's in the 70s. That's coincidence too, I guess, right? Yeah, it's just coincidence, sure. Jesus fuck. Oh, man. So, again, please go get a download from the download store of my new film. It's in two price ranges and two quality. You can get it in 4K or HD. Go get a copy of it, please. And, again, this is our fundraising time of the month. We're trying to pay the operating costs to stay alive, and we have until Monday, which Monday will be the 5th. We have until then to raise $1,200 so we don't go under. So please get your donations in. Dayglow76@yahoo.com on PayPal, and Reeves Radio, all lowercase, one word, Reeves Radio on the Cash App. And capital J Josh dash capital R Reeves dash 61 on Venmo. And all you can do is just buy a bunch of downloads from the download store. Do that.